Grace Crosby, and you're listening to the Mean Joe Grizzly podcast.
Hey, it's Tom Matthews from Return of the Living Dead and Friday the 13th, Part 6, to name a few, and you're listening to the Mean Joe Grizzly podcast. Enjoy.
Hey guys, Tyler Main here, and you're listening to the Mean Joe Grizzly podcast.
Hi, I'm John Russo, screenwriter of Night of the Living Dead. Welcome to the Mean Joe Grizzly podcast. Enjoy.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
What up, me Militia? I'm Mean Joe Grizzly, and when I'm not traveling through the multiverse with Deadpool and Wolverine to try to save the MCU and all of reality, I'm at the Grizzly Cave, watching movies, reading comics, listening to metal, and of course, crushing beers. And I am fresh out of the theater from seeing Deadpool and Wolverine, and the real question is, does it save the MCU? But before we get started, please make sure to follow me on all social media pages, subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and subscribe to the YouTube channel by clicking the links in the description below. By doing that, you'll help me continue to talk about all forms of badassery. So, does Deadpool's first entry into the MCU save it? Does it join the ranks of good MCU movies post-Endgame like Multiverse of Madness and Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Or is it just more mediocre garbage that's being produced by Marvel and Disney? Let's talk about it. This is Grizzly Grade Reviews. After being rejected by the Avengers of the 616 universe, Deadpool's life seemingly begins to fall apart and he loses all purpose. But when an opportunity to have everything he ever wanted is presented from the Time Variance Authority, he soon learns that the deal isn't what it seems, and he will have to team up with another struggling hero from an alternate universe in order to overcome a dire situation. You know, since the end of the Infinity Saga and the start of this multiverse saga, the MCU has went through a lot of peaks and valleys. You know, you got your peaks with the Spider-Man No Way Home, the best MCU Spider-Man movie, hands down, that's not debatable. You got Multiverse of Madness, which I know was not received well overall, but I feel like it was fantastic and a perfect representation of how the character of Doctor Strange is written in the comics, and personally one of the best MCU movies in my opinion, but that's a topic for a different day. And, you know, you got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You know, though I can say without a shadow of doubt that those three are definitely the top three movies that we've had since Endgame. Then you have, you know, movies that are just okay, like Wakanda Forever and Shang-Chi. And, you know, then you get to the Netflix shows. Some of those are great. Some of those are horrible. Some of those are just okay. It's been just a lot of up and down ever since Endgame, and superhero fatigue, and just a number of things where Disney just oversaturated the market and made horrible decisions. Bad casting, bad writing. They couldn't get out of the Waititi effect from in humor wise and just destroying tone. You know, Ant-Man Quantumania was supposed to be this, you know, big introduction to the new big bad of this saga, and ultimately was not well received. I didn't feel like it was that bad, but nevertheless, the movie wasn't what it needed to be. A lot of things has happened since Endgame. And I haven't walked out of a theater excited or fulfilled or satisfied with the MCU movie overall in a while. And I'm so happy to report that Deadpool and Wolverine was great. And does it save the MCU? I'll have to get back to that towards the end of this review. But we'll just start off with the story. So I don't want to give too much detail as far as the story goes. Really, all you need to know as far as the review goes is this picks up so many years after Deadpool 2, where, if you remember, Deadpool had Cable's time machine. And he was going around, righting all the wrongs and fixing stuff that he wanted to fix. Like, for instance, he went back and shot Ryan Reynolds in the head so that he wouldn't take Green Lantern role. Or he killed the shitty version of Deadpool we got in Wolverine Origins. Just funny stuff like that. And he saved Vanessa. That was like his thing. And we kind of thought that was like the end. Well, this segues directly into this movie, where he actually went like universe hopping and did a lot of things. And I'm not going to go into details with all of them. I'm just going to talk about one that you found out very early on, and it's not going to ruin anything for you. He ends up going to the 616 universe. Now, in the MCU, that is the main timeline, the main universe. And he essentially interviews with Happy Hogan to join the Avengers. And sadly, he does not get that. And that crushes him. That makes him lose all purpose. And essentially, his life becomes this boring, unfulfilling, like, mess. Now, is he out here like, living homeless or anything like that? No, he simply just isn't happy with his life. He doesn't feel needed. He wants to be needed desperately. He wants to be part of something bigger. He wants to matter. And that need and him not getting that need fulfilled leads to a lot of things happening, like, his relationship with Vanessa is on the rocks. Just stuff like that. And then an opportunity from the TVA kind of presents itself. And again, I will not go into any details about that. But let's just say it's everything that he's ever wanted, but there is a catch. He has to do some things or not do some things in order to obtain this goal that he wants. And in perfect Deadpool fashion, he doesn't want to do either one of those things, and he wants to do what he thinks is right and what should, like, make things right so that he can have what he wants and everybody else can be happy as well. And that's kind of how, without telling you fully why, that's how he kind of comes into contact with Wolverine. And then another situation happens to where they both reluctantly have to team up with each other and stop the situation from becoming more dire than what it is. And that's what I'm going to say about the story, and I'm going to leave it at that. It's a very simplistic approach that at first could seem overcomplicated, but it's not. The movie does a really good job of being cohesive and yet removed from everything that's been going on recently in the MCU. Yeah, there are things that you need to know about, but you don't have to, like, go back and watch 2 seasons of a TV show or 10 movies to really figure out. A simple Google search will bring you right back up to speed. And I'm in no way, shape, or form discouraging you from going and watching those TV shows or those movies, but they're just really not necessary. You just need to understand a concept, and then once you understand that concept, you should be good to go. Now, they take this simple premise and they craft this movie that is very much like No Way Home. As far as, like, if No Way Home was like a tribute to those previously released Spider-Man movies, from the Tobey Maguire era to the Andrew Garfield era to the Tom Holland era, all like rolled into one and being weaved in through this story, this is very much in the same vein as that. And honestly, in my opinion, they did it better. Now, does that mean that we are just beaten over the head with cameos and they just don't have really any meaning, or it's just nostalgia bait. There's a lot of nostalgia in this, and nostalgia does play a role in this movie, but is the movie dependent on that nostalgia? I don't think so. Does that mean that the movie wouldn't be as effective without it? I'm not saying that. What I'm pretty much saying is it's not nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. Everything has a purpose. And the way that Sean Levy crafted and directed this movie to give it this leeway to have all of that nostalgia in there while pushing the story forward and having the story focused, and not just, hey, here's this person, here's this person, here's this person, here's this person. It doesn't depend on any of that. All the cameos that happen in the movie have a purpose, and all the cameos in the movie are awesome, and all the cameos in the movie are involved in the story in some way, shape, or form. At least in my opinion, they are. And this movie is also, surprisingly enough, Marvel and Disney turning the mirror on themselves and really heavily criticizing themselves and admitting that they have completely shit the bed with this multiverse saga. And I appreciated that so damn much. And it was in the form of jokes and in the form of little plot points and stuff like that. It was very well done. I was very surprised and appreciated it so damn much, because right now Marvel needs to be criticized. Yeah, there's the naysayers on the internet that are, oh, y'all just want to complain about everything, blah blah blah. It's really not that. Marvel and Disney have lost their way with these properties. Those movies started out as entertaining movies that cater to a specific audience, and yet was broad enough that anyone could enjoy and get into. The audience being the comic book fan, the people who grew up reading these stories. That was the target audience, and they ended up attracting casual fans, and it expanded from there. Now, at first, it wasn't a bad thing. At first, it was this phenomenon that finally superheroes and comic books, and we're getting these great stories and great movies, and then it lost its way somewhere along the lines where they let a few directors here and there take some liberties, and it effectively changed everything. And that's also another story that I'm not going to dive completely into. One day I'm going to do a rise and fall and hopefully resurrection of the MCU episode, where I go through and give my take on the MCU. But that's for a different day. I'm just going to highlight a few things as I need to. They lost their way tone-wise. They lost their way with the source material and how faithful they were to it. They started focusing on the message instead of focusing on entertainment. And that has been the downfall, along with just an insane amount of frequency and volume of these movies and TV shows. We don't need 4 TV shows a year and 5 movies a year. 2 movies a year and 1 TV show is plenty. It's plenty. They oversaturated the market. And now we're back here at the Deadpool movie, where they make fun of all that. They do it in a smart way, and it's fucking hilarious. The comedy in this movie had me dying. Was there a couple of times where some jokes didn't hit? Yeah, but I'd say about 95% of them hit. The whole audience was dying laughing. That's also just a note. This is the first time in a long time that I've seen a Marvel movie where the crowd was so involved in the movie and loved it so damn much. I can literally only go back to 3 movies. This one, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Those 3 movies got so much reaction from the crowd, and it made the movie experience even better. It was so good to see that again, because I never thought that I'd ever see anything close to the hype that Endgame brought. And not to say that this movie has Endgame levels of hype, but it definitely is on par with how No Way Home had people cheering in the crowd and everybody excited and people were clapping. It was so damn good. I had so much damn fun watching this movie. And back to the comedy, the jokes were so smart and they were so quick and they were so funny, just like most of Deadpool's jokes are. But he pulls from everything, and I loved it so damn much. The cameos, back to the cameos again, all of them feel like useful. All of them felt necessary. And I can tell you right now, as much of a fan I am of these movies and have been of comic book films my whole life and comic books, I never would have thought that we would have got some of the cameos that we got in this movie. Like, a few of them were actually like jaw-dropping to me. I had no idea that we would see some of these characters. And even they even have little minor cameos from characters from the Fox universe that I found to be like good little touches. I just feel like that they did such a good damn job, man. Like, I know that a lot of people see that as, oh, that's just nostalgia bait. This movie's just a cameo fest, blah blah. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that anything was wasted here as far as cameos go. I appreciated it so damn much. I'm so thankful that Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman pulled this off. As far as the cast goes, obviously Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. He was born to play Deadpool. That character just seems tailor-made to him. And the one thing about his role in this film is not only is he just as funny as he's ever been, and he's just as like slapstick as he's ever been, he's also as serious as he's ever been at times, which is also something that I'm going to talk about is the tone of the movie. There are times in this movie where Deadpool has you laughing, like gut-busting laughs. And then when the shit gets serious and there has to be a point where the movie has to be serious and has to take itself serious and the stakes are high, he absolutely delivers. There are moments in this movie where you will tear up. I feel like there's no way you don't tear up. If you love these characters, there is moments in this movie where you're going to tear up. And that kind of segues into Hugh Jackman as in his role as Wolverine. This is the most Wolverine version of Wolverine that we've gotten in a movie yet. Yeah, Logan was great. That's the other thing I want to make sure everybody understands. This does not taint the legacy of Logan. Logan is still one of the best comic book movies ever made, and it's never going to not be in the top 5 for me. It's phenomenal. And this movie does not taint that legacy, but it does enhance the character of Wolverine on the big screen. Hugh Jackman brings a level of emotion to the role in this film that I was not expecting. I expected a little bit. I did not expect him to like actually have you like really like getting pretty misty-eyed and everything. You actually like feel the emotion that he is displaying in the movie. And when I tell you that this is the most Wolverine we've seen, when he goes into his little berserker rages and him and Deadpool are fighting and he's fighting other characters in the movie, he looks just like Wolverine from the comics, and it's so fucking awesome. The suit, him wearing the suit that we see in the trailers and stuff, the suit looks so damn good on him. It was so good to finally see him in the X-Men suit, and they give like an explanation too, like I love how they call back there's a point where they call back to like the Fox X-Men movies, and they're like, he's like, wow, you're really wearing a suit. He was like, yeah, I always thought it was fucking stupid and everybody looked goofy as hell, but whatever. And it was so appropriate for the situation, and the suit looks great. And I will tell you this, you will see the suit in its entirety, and I'm not going to tell you anything else. Just if you think it's just he's just in the suit for a little bit, don't worry, guys. You'll see. Just go see the movie and you'll see what I'm talking about. And as far as like other characters, I don't want to talk about the cameos as far as like who's in the movie. You see some of them in the trailer. My boy Tyler Mane as Sabretooth. It was good to see him. It's really funny. When I interviewed him last year, I asked him if he had anything in the works, and he said, I got a big project that I cannot talk about. And now I know what project that was. So it was good to see him. His Sabretooth looked great in the movie. As far as other characters go, like I said, I can't really talk about them, because if I do, I'm going to ruin it for you. We'll move on to the villain in the movie. Cassandra Nova. The actress that they got to play her name is Emma Corrin, I believe is her name. She does a phenomenal job. She looks like Cassandra Nova. She is evil like Cassandra Nova. She's not the writing of the character is what the problem is. They do a quick exposition, like not with flashbacks, just by the character literally explaining who she is, and that's about it. You don't really get much of her like motivations. She's not very fleshed out, but when she is on the screen, she is evil. She's very creepy, just like her comic counterpart. One day we'll do a Grizzly guide on her, because she's one of the best X-Men villains ever. But the actress, you know, she does a great job. Emma Corrin did a great job looking the part, acting the part, and the way that she uses her power is so fucking gross. It made me uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. I know that if you've seen other people's reviews, they've said the same thing, like the way she uses her power is fucking gross. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I do think that unfortunately though, I have a few gripes, and I'll get to those in a minute, but it does involve the villain. But the cast overall, there's not a bad performance in this film. All of the cast members are great. None of them are bad. Just solid all around. Even the extras and the people in minor roles, they did a phenomenal job. The action in the movie is phenomenal. There is so much blood and gore in this movie, and I really thought that they were going to tone it down because it's Disney and Marvel. I was wrong. If anything, I think they may have upped the ante a little bit. There was a lot of gore in this movie, and there's no other way to do Deadpool and Wolverine, guys. It has to be gory. That's why Logan was so successful. That's why, in my opinion, movies like The Wolverine was more successful, because they actually let the character breathe and be what the character actually is, which is a violent anti-hero character. I loved the fact that they turned it up a notch, in my opinion. It was so freaking good. There's scenes in this movie that, particularly the opening scene, and there is a scene midway through the movie, and that's a fight between Deadpool and Wolverine, and both of those movies might be the two best fights in the entire trilogy. The opening scene rivaling the opening scene from Deadpool 1. And I was just satisfied. The fights were awesome. They were funny. They were violent. It's what we needed. We needed that from these two characters, which is going to let me segue into my next point. Deadpool, once again, is the vessel in which the characters that are in the X-Men universe are done so much better and more comic accurate than they were in the original Fox universe. They just get the characters better. Like Colossus is a perfect example. Best version of Colossus we've seen in live action so far. I don't think anybody can debate that. If they do, I can't really take you serious. The Juggernaut, another perfect example. That's the Juggernaut. The one in Deadpool 2, that's the Juggernaut, guys. Not the British guy that they got to play, which he's a great actor, don't get me wrong. Just horribly miscast and not given the character any kind of justice. Just, oh, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. It was bad, and it's one of the worst things about X-Men The Last Stand, which is obviously one of the weakest movies in that franchise, but I digress. I love how they just get the characters right. Deadpool, perfectly comic accurate. This version of Wolverine we get, again, I said this is the Wolverine that we've been waiting for. They just get it. That for some reason the Deadpool movies just get it, and I appreciate it so much when they take the source material serious and they actually try to make these characters as accurate to the comics as they possibly can. Yeah, they throw a little comedic edge in there. That's fine. That's going to be par for the course in the Deadpool movie. But it's pretty crazy that the Deadpool movies take the X-Men more serious than the X-Men movies. Which also segues into another topic I want to talk about that this movie does great. And I kind of touched on it when I was talking about Ryan Reynolds' performance as Deadpool. It is baffling to me that it took a Deadpool movie for Marvel to understand and balance the tone in a movie. And to elaborate, and I promise I won't go on a rant, I have to refer back to one of my biggest gripes about the MCU. Ever since Thor Ragnarok, not Love and Thunder, Thor Ragnarok, we have had this humongous tonal shift in the MCU where stuff went from being serious with comic relief, and everything's taken seriously, and there's scenes of comedy that like break the tension, to the tone is all over the damn place because of how Taika Waititi filmed Ragnarok. He created a monster that Kevin Feige ultimately kept letting run wild in the MCU, because in moments where things are supposed to be so dire, so serious, and the audience is supposed to feel like hopeless along with the characters, they crack a fart joke, or they crack a joke that's not funny at all. Just, we call it red face comedy. You should be embarrassed that you thought that was funny. And ever since Thor Ragnarok, that's how the MCU's been. It's been so up and down. Yes, some movies have taken things serious and it's been great, but everything is not a fucking joke. And it's sad, and at the same time, it's refreshing that Deadpool understands that. Sean Levy understood that. He understood the assignment, and he took us out of that chaotic tonal shift that was started with Ragnarok with this movie and turned it into like the perfect balance of comedy and seriousness. I know that sounds crazy because it's a Deadpool movie, but I'm trying to tell you that Deadpool is funny as hell throughout, but it has moments where when shit goes down, they actually take it serious, and you actually get these real emotional moments. And for some people, that's gonna sound jarring, and it's gonna feel like it's all over the place. But for me, after watching how shitty the tone has been handled since Ragnarok, it was very refreshing to see. It was refreshing to see a character like Deadpool, who is known for being a comedic, wisecracking character, actually take a lot of the situation that was going on with him serious. I loved that. That was so damn refreshing. It was something that needed to damn happen. It needed to happen. The other positives that I have in the movie, the costumes, the set designs, the CG, all that was top notch. And that's something you also haven't been able to say about a Marvel movie in a long time. So the CGI in particular, it has been just absolutely horrendous. See the weird Popeye arm in Secret Invasion. That's probably the best example. Wow, that was so shitty. But if I really had to like give this movie any negatives, I'll have to go back to the character of Cassandra Nova. I don't think that she's a bad villain, and I've said that earlier. I don't think she's a bad villain, and I think that Emma Corrin did a great job of portraying her. The problem is, I wanted more out of that character. I wanted it to be more fleshed out. That doesn't mean that some of the stuff that happens with a character doesn't have the same impact. It would just have an even greater impact if the character would have been more fleshed out. And that's par for the course with the MCU movie, because the MCU is notorious for dropping the ball on villains. There's only a handful of good villains in the entire franchise. And that's sad, because some of the villains that they've had a chance to do, they have 100% shit the bed on. I'm looking at you, Taskmaster and Ultron. Y'all might be the two worst that they've actually screwed up. And I just need that to change about the MCU, especially in the upcoming projects they have. Because if you're going to bring in Galactus and Doctor Doom, I really, really, really need them to get this shit with the villains right. They have to start putting more of a focus on the villains and flesh those characters out and make these villains more memorable than what they've been doing over the years. Thanos and the Kingpin are like the two villains that are 100% memorable from the MCU. All the other ones are paint by numbers. They're just not that great. They'll start out good and they'll drop the ball on it, or they never were great at all. They were just there. They were just a placeholder and no one gave a shit about them. So that's one, I'd say, a mixed aspect, because I do think that Emma Corrin did a great job of portraying that character. I just wanted more, and it felt like a really odd choice to bring her in as the villain as well. That didn't really make a lot of sense. If I ever get a chance to do a spoiler review, which I doubt that's going to happen because the schedule's so tight, I would go over who I would have chose to play the villain in this movie. Again, not unhappy about it, just an odd choice, and I wanted a little more. But the only true complaint that I have about the movie is the pacing in this movie is strange. And I say strange and not, I say the word strange and not bad, because it's really hard for me to define the pacing in this movie. The first act of this movie moves like lightning. The second act of the movie is the start, stop type thing. It bogs down, and yet it doesn't. And then the last act is kind of perfectly paced, in my opinion. It was just up and down and all over the place. Did I ever feel tired of watching the movie? I was like, oh my God, it's just dragging. Or did I feel like, God, I wish it'd slow down. I just want something to be marinated on a little bit. Not necessarily, but it's definitely one of the weak points of the movie. As far as all that goes, the only other questions that I have is Kevin Feige and Disney and Marvel, are they going to look at this movie and say, okay, we semi-wrote an apology letter to the fans, especially the diehard fans of the MCU, for all the fuck-ups we've had over the last 3 to 4 years. So what do we do now? Do we go back and do we make tweaks to Captain America, Brave New World, and whatever other movies are coming out next? Do we scrap certain projects? do we even release shows like, Agatha All Along, stuff like that? Like, can Marvel and Disney afford to, like, destroy this high note that they're on right now? Because make no mistake about it, I am not saying that this movie saves the MCU. But does it have potential to, like, take us down a path that is much needed? Absolutely. The real question is Kevin Feige and Disney going to do that? Are they going to make the tweaks? Are they going to put this fucking multiverse saga to bed and just never really talk about it again? Or are they going to craft it better than what they have been doing so that we can actually, get a good storyline going here instead of this we don't know where the hell we're going all over the place bullshit that they've been doing? Only time will tell. Do I have faith in them? I want to. So, as of right now, I'm going to be very optimistic about it. But who knows? They could release Captain America Brave New World and it could completely shit the bed and it could just be a return to the current status quo where we get one good movie every 4 movies and the rest are either very mediocre or garbage. And Agatha All Along could be released and it could be a good show. I don't really know why we would want that show at this point, unless they just plan on expanding their magic side of their universe. But again, only time will tell. As of right now, I'm very optimistic. So, with all of that being said, Deadpool and Wolverine gets a 4.5 out of 5, and it's definitely Grizzly grade guaranteed. The hype is real, in my opinion. Go see this movie, guys. I really enjoyed this movie, to the point that I might go see it again. It was great. I'm so thankful for Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Thank y'all so much for delivering this phenomenal theater experience and giving me hope for the MCU moving forward. And thank you, Sean Levy. He did a phenomenal job directing. I heard there's a rumor that he was slated to be the director for the next Avengers movie. I think the guy can pull it off. I have confidence in him. But nevertheless, thank you all for giving the fans what they've been needing from this franchise for so long. And that does it for another episode. Make sure you click the links in the description and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and also follow the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the content I'm bringing your way. Also, make sure you check out Carl Casey at Whitebat Audio. He is a synthwave master, and his music is being used throughout each episode, so check him out on Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. It's so refreshing to have a consistently good run of good movies. This summer's been great so far. The beginning of the year didn't start out so well, so it's good to see that the movie season's like ramping up and there's great movies coming out. Make sure y'all head over to the YouTube, guys, and check out all the content I got there, and especially check out the relaunch of the Grizzly Guide. I got the first episode up there now where I cover Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, so if you want more Deadpool, there's your chance. Also, stay tuned for another episode of Mean Joe Video. Going to be covering The Crow on that one. And I'm also going to be releasing the next Grizzly Guide episode pretty soon. And that's also going to be on The Crow. So stay tuned for both of those. We also got some other things in the works. The Monster Manual is going to be returning soon. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be starting yet another new segment called Heavy History. Can't wait to get to that with you guys. Also got more movies coming out. We got M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Trapped, and then we got probably my second or third most anticipated horror film of the year coming out with Cuckoo. I've heard nothing but good things about that. So stay tuned for all that, guys. Thank you all so much for your continued support. Please go follow me on YouTube. Follow the YouTube channel, guys. That's where most of the content's about to start coming from. So go ahead and get ahead of that. Hit that subscribe button and get the notification bell ring as well. But until next time, remember, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.